I'm Jim Collison, and this is the CliftonStrengths Podcast, Season 3, recorded on March 22nd, 2024. In this CliftonStrengths podcast series, we'll look at how to feel more energized and motivated at work, one theme at a time, and today's theme is strategic. If you're listening live, we'd love to have you join us in chat, or if you have questions after the fact, you can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Dr. Jaclynn Robinson is our host today. She works as a senior learning and development consultant. Join me for season 1 and 2 of the CliftonStrengths podcast, where we looked at the book Well-Being at Work and our CliftonStrengths role-based reports. That'd be season 2. Jaclynn, always great to be with you. Welcome back.
Pleasure is mine. Thanks, sir. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. We are spending some time talking about bringing energy to work with your themes. Today, we're talking about strategic. Number 2 for you. So this is going to be awesome. Let's talk about the individual first. What are some ways an individual with strategic can feel more energized by focusing on their basic needs?
Yeah, I'd say by gaining clarity of either the team or the organization's overarching goals and objectives. Maybe it's both. And then creating that strategic roadmap that's really going to highlight, okay, what steps am I going to take? What are going to be my timelines? What are my milestones so that you can meet those respective expectations? Or even catch any obstacles that might arise in meeting them. But it's so great to know what the destination is first. What are my team or my organization's objectives? And now I can make, that roadmap that's going to be most efficient.
Yeah, maybe one of those key things for strategic is maybe knowing and maybe part of it is discovering where you're going in that piece, working through those processes. For you, with strategic too, can you sense that when you need, like, I need some strategic moments. I need to do some things. How do you, to get those basic needs covered for you, how do you approach that?
Yeah, it's really helpful to know. I always think of it like Google Maps, strategic like Google Maps. I know where I'm at. What's the destination? Because that's going to help me know, is this the 10-minute route, the 15-minute route, the 25-minute route? So there's sometimes additional context that I need, and it might be, what's the key priority? What's our largest priority, or what's critical at this point in time? And maybe there's 2 things that you have to do all at once, and then it's, okay, well, how do I want to tackle it? What's going to be the most efficient way to tackle both of these within a given time frame? But that context is key. Little c.
Yeah.
Of where are we going? I recognize a lot of folks with strategic tend to have anxiety, and I see it in myself too. If that isn't clear, where are we actually heading, so that I can put that strategy together?
I think about some of the planning that you and I have done. Mike McDonald, I think, has high strategic. Micah has high strategic. I think I find myself gravitating towards strategic people because I don't. And so it helps me. I've got 1,000 things going on, and then I can say, hey, I'm thinking about all these things. Can you order this? Can you sort this in a way that makes some sense for what we should actually do? Right. And
that's so fun.
And so you and I have spent a lot of time sorting these things down. It really kind of becomes an exercise in that, in a lot of ways. And so kind of cool to be able to work with you here in the 3rd season of this and be able to do that. What are some ways that an individual with strategic can feel more energized by focusing their individual strengths and development?
Ooh, you kind of teased it out. It's whenever you can really serve as a thought partner with individuals or teams in the workplace and discuss, what are our next steps going to be, or what's our strategy for this project or this client need, or even being on an internal panel. A lot of organizations have those now, where they can have people sit on an internal panel or board and think about, initiatives that they can carry out for employees. But any of those opportunities to think about an intended outcome, and then hypothesize, well, if this, then we can do that. If that, then we can do this. It's just a great way to utilize that mapping that takes place in a person's mind that has strategic high, and to feel valued by the team as well for those talents that you can bring to the table. Really cultivating that talent and that thought partnership.
Yeah, from a development angle, I think I would say to put yourself in some of those situations where you can help
Exactly.
with some of those key decisions that need to be made, or being able to help sort ideas out into what might be best. And that may sound a little bit like Maximizer in some regards, but to work through those processes,
Hmm.
I personally love that, to be able to just go through thousands of ideas and then let someone else kind of decide, like,
Yes.
hey, here's what's best. And I don't it doesn't matter to me if we do them all or do any of them. My
Hmm.
job is just to create ideas. Hey, here's some things we could be doing. And so your partnership in that area has made this what it is. It's super cool. What are ways an individual with strategic can feel more energized by building partnerships and finding purpose in their role?
It's partnerships like this, like what you and I have. There's a lot of energy that comes from working with folks that have great ideas, or they can see maybe visions for the future, but they're not quite sure how they can get there. So this is where someone high in strategic can come in and provide different avenues or help those partners start to sort through their ideas. Hey, this is feasible. This seems a little unrealistic. And then you can really start to, hammer out what that plan could be.
How do you know with strategic for you, how do you know when you're in that zone? When you're thinking about finding purpose, when do you know you're there? Do you get that feeling like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
strategic's rocking and rolling now? Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that from your own
Yeah,
personal
you feel the
experience?
juices for sure.
Yeah.
The juices start to flow and you go, ooh, okay. Because some people do have some really good ideas or visions of what that future could look like or where the team can move forward.
Mhm.
And you've got team members that are sharing that. Once the manager says, hey, this is kind of where we think we're going to move, or the direction we're going to head in the future. And you've got people with all those ideas that are just coming out. You can feel the energy in strategic where you're going, oh, okay, yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, we could do that. And then you start to have ideas yourself of what the next step could look like to get
Mhm.
there. And that's kind of when you're tuned in and tapped in, is like, oh, okay, yes. And I can see it so vividly how we can get there. And this is the most efficient route.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you start to share that out.
and recognize individuals for what it could be. I think you do that really,
Yeah.
really well, in the context of our relationship of being like, yeah, and then I can almost see it in you
Mhm.
sometimes. Like I've hit it, I've said something, and you're like, yeah, and then we could do this and that and this,
Yes.
right? And I'm like, my job is done here.
The light bulb comes on, you see it in us. We're like, "Yeah."
Yeah, yeah.
The smiles, we just light up.
Well, and you think about, we've been working through the S's, and you think about self-assurance and significance, what we talked about last time, and
Mhm.
boy, strategic can be a really good partner to those. We haven't spent much time talking about these partnerships, but I just
Yeah.
think about that in this way of saying, this is really strategic to go this direction or do these things, and really
Yeah.
play into those other themes as well. So super cool. Well, let's spend a little time talking about the manager. How can a manager with um strategic support? I talked about self-assurance and significance, and that threw me off.
Trying to catch yourself.
That's right. How can a manager with strategic support others with their basic needs?
Uh, Getting back into that, strategic thinking lens, start to anticipate and identify any potential risks or obstacles that might hinder your team's ability to meet those expectations. And then if you see any, start to develop some of those risk mitigation strategies. And this isn't to be confused with deliberative, since we're talking about risk. It's kind of it's just another element that you often see in strategic to say, ooh, yeah, this is the best path forward, but we have this obstacle in the way. So let's think about and consider new strategies for how we can remove that hindrance,
Yeah.
so the team can continue to move forward. So once you know what those expectations are, I think almost naturally, if you've got strategic, you're going to start going, okay, what obstacles might get in the way.
Mhm.
Maybe then the idea is to clarify it with the team so they know that you've already considered that obstacle and that you're working on it. Because sometimes that's our weakness group, is you see it but you don't say it. And so you want to bring the team on board with you to say, I've got your back, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I really, really important in that team setting to say it, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm seeing some things ahead. I'm seeing some directions we could do differently. I'm seeing some
Uh-huh.
things that may have a greater impact. I'm sorting differently. Of course, the other themes in your top 5 around this influence that in various
Yeah.
ways. But great opportunity supporting others, especially as a manager with that supporting others, being able to see things guide them in their own development, right?
Mhm.
Think about a manager and having some responsibilities for individuals management or individuals development to say, hey, I see some things ahead that
Yeah.
we're doing here, and there's some pieces. Let's put them together in a way that works best, however that is. How can a manager with strategic help others feel seen, heard, and valued as an individual?
Um, Encourage them. So encourage team members when they might not see that path towards their intended or wished for goals. Whether it's personal or professional, they might have shared those with you. And you can kind of see folks that start to feel depleted or depressed when they've got this big goal in mind and it doesn't seem like there's any way of reaching it. You could step in as the manager and encourage them and show that, hey, there are different pathways towards achieving those goals, and let's talk about how you can get there based on your own individual strengths. I think that's where it can feel really motivating and supportive, and they can feel like you value them and you see them and want to support them.
I think strategic can play in that herd uh, statement very, very well. In other words, listening
Yeah.
and then saying, "Hey, again, here's where things could be going. Here's putting these pieces together could be a massive benefit to you." And but listening,
Mhm.
hearing those things in a way. Again, to go back to our relationship, I'll throw a whole bunch of things out, and you actually repeat them in the context of our conversations. You repeat them back and say, "Oh, I like this because of this. I think that maybe
Yeah.
this may be a great way to go because of this, and we're headed in this direction and pulling these pieces together." And so that helps me like, "Oh, you're actually listening to me." Right?
Yes.
That's kind of for a woo, that's kind of cool that when somebody actually listens. How can
For
a
a woo.
how can a manager
Uh,
with strategic build trust, inspire, and deepen team collaboration and community?
if you can define and track those performance metrics that are important to you and the team, and then directly tie it back to the company's strategy, and your team members' specific roles, that's really going to help them see the impact on those critical metrics as both individuals and as collaborators as they're working together and, as an entire team or as partners on the team.
We're beginning to spend some time, we're rapidly racing to the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
In the teams I'm in, we're starting to pull early third quarter numbers. They're not all the way in yet, but we want to get a look at before the end of the quarter, like, okay, where are we at with these numbers? I always appreciate that manager that can bring a strategic look on the numbers because
Mhm.
they themselves mean nothing in a lot of cases. But then you have to bring in the context of that. You talked about team collaboration and saying, hey, in the
Yeah.
context of our team, this is why these things matter. We recently finished our own Q12 administration and been having some feedback conversations. And so mixing those results in with how people are feeling at the moment and having a manager with high strategic so helpful in guiding those conversations, right? And deepening that
Mhm.
team collaboration in that. Kind of last question as we wrap this up today. How can a manager with strategic support the growth of each team member?
I think you could be a strategic problem solver if you've got this high for team members when they encounter obstacles in their developmental journey. How can you use your strength to guide them in finding solutions? You might offer ideas to say, may I suggest, a couple of different ideas that are coming to mind for me. There's this course of action that could really support you. There's this course of action that
Yeah.
could support you. Do you feel any of those might be feasible to you? So going back to always giving that person permission to say yay or nay, and um, you know, kind of putting it in their lap, but you could really come up with some really good solutions in what that journey could look like and tie it back to their ultimate career goal.
You mentioned permissions, and I think that's a for strategic. That's good. It's a good reminder to say
Mm-hmm.
before you unload, hey, I've got some thoughts.
Here's plan
Are
A. Here's plan B. Here's
are you
plan C.
interested? Yeah. Are you interested in hearing some thoughts? I have with ideation, I have high ideation. I'm learning to say, I got a ton of ideas. Are you
Yes.
interested in any of them? And every once in a while, somebody will be like, no. You're like, okay. But
Well,
it's
that's
good to
fine
ask,
then.
right? And
All
I think
right.
with strategic, this may be one of those areas as well as we're helping people, we're supporting team members.
Yes.
Yes, you're seeing it, or you believe you are seeing it more clearly than others.
Yes.
Sometimes a great idea just to ask, hey, are you interested? I've got some
It
things to
is.
say. Are you interested? By the way, that works for all of the themes. That's not specific to strategic. Any of these superpowers, I think sometimes is to say, hey, I could do that for you. Do you want
Yeah.
it? Are you interested in it?
Tap
Um,
me in. Tap me in. I'm
that was
ready.
so much better. Like it's so
Yeah.
much better when you have permission than just stepping in. So, Jaclynn, final thoughts on strategic as we wrap this up today?
Yeah, I think this is one of those themes where, you contribute your ability to create well-structured strategies, and you can align them with both individuals you work with, or teams you work with, and help empower them to make informed decisions and achieve objectives together, or, you're helping support their own objectives in a very strategic way. So this is one of those themes I'd say, embrace it. It is one of those themes sometimes you have to ask for permission because you might see pathways first. So I think it's helping people see why you came to that conclusion first and foremost, or why that outcome seems like it might be feasible. Asking for permission. You can also encourage people to come up with their own backup plan. You always have a backup plan, but you might say, I love that idea. What could be another action if that doesn't work, so that you're having them start to think about what else they could do. That's something I recognize that I do with folks, whether I'm coaching or we're just having one-on-one conversations, off to the side, is like, oh, I love that idea. What else could you do if an obstacle comes up? And you're empowering them to go, oh yeah, okay, I can land on my feet, by Jove. So that's what I have to say about that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Well,
Long little ramble for you
no,
all
I
with
like it.
strategic.
I like it. Well, and a reminder too. I mean, we're talking. This season is really talking about bringing energy and motivation. And
Hmm.
so, thinking about those of you with high strategic, what's worked that has brought energy, right?
Yes.
What have I done that where at the end result it worked really really well, and then how do I replicate that based on the situations that I put myself in, and
Hmm.
how do I use that to bring energy? We want to think about successes, having successes in mind of doing this, because that always brings energy. Nobody, no,
Yeah.
well, maybe I do, but most people don't succeed and then second guess themselves. I do, and maybe most people do. I don't know, but bringing energy and motivation to work, I think, important here. Jaclynn, thanks for
For sure.
bringing your strategic talents to what we do here to make this 3 years of an effect. I get feedback on these. We've had these
Yeah.
downloaded over 500,000 times now. So pretty great. Thank
It's
you for your
wild.
strategic talent. Appreciate it. With that, we'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we do have available in Gallup Access. Use them strategically. Head over, go to my.gallup.com, sign in. Your strengths report there is all the resources. If you head to gallup.com, there's a little search button on the upper right-hand corner. Click on that and then put strategic in, and you'll see it'll say strategic theme. If you click on that, all the resources on strategic are there. We have a bunch for you, hours of
Oh
learning that you could be
yes.
doing. Yes, hours are there. For coaching, master coaching, if you want to become a Gallup certified strengths coach, we do that too. You can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Someone will get right back to you. By the time you hear this in a podcast form, it'll be over, but we had a great time. Jaclynn and I had a great time at the 2024 Gallup at Work Summit. It was
You were gonna
awesome,
say
wasn't
that.
it?
So good.
It was so great, and I am sure we have already announced. I hope we've already announced what's going on for 2025. So head out gallupatwork.com. It's kind of weird talking in the future that way, but head out to
I
gallupatwork.com.
dig it.
Stay close, and we'd love to see you at the next one. And it was great seeing you at the 2024. So
I know.
is that a
This is
strategic
totally
thing?
feeding my futuristic here. I'm already in the future with you. I'm like,
Isn't that awesome?
yes, this
Yeah,
is
so come.
great.
And if you're listening live, get registered, either virtual or in person. We'd love to see you there as well. Stay up to date on all future webcasts by joining our Facebook and LinkedIn groups. You can find us on any social platform by searching Clifton Strengths. If you'd enjoyed it, hit those like and subscribe buttons. Share it if you really found it helpful. And thanks for listening today. If you're listening live, stay around for a little bit of a mid-show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.